more qualitative parameters or effectiveness parameters as well. What's interesting to note that large-scale change management, the success rate is less than 1/3. Having a tech-first or digital-first mindset, because that's the way to go.
Because the Gen Zs today are digital. Today we are in Amchi, Mumbai with Mr. Shivin Tikoo, CHRO, Mahindra First Choice. Shivin is an experienced HR and OD professional with a stellar track record of delivering digital transformations, HR transformations in leading organizations across India. Interestingly, Shivin was the first Indian to be recognized by the OD network and has played a stellar role in enabling digital transformation for Mahindra First Choice. Welcome, Shivin.
Thank you, Amit. Thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited to share the learnings of the digital transformation at Mahindra First Choice with your audience.
So let's get right into it, Shivin. You've been you're a seasoned professional. You've spent quite many years perfecting the HR function and what goes into making a successful HR function. And in due course, you would have implemented technology to bring use cases to life many times in your career. So as a CHRO, today, thinking about the technology stack, what do you think are the various needs which would suffice for today and would shape up as your critical must-haves for tomorrow?
First, I would like to speak about the larger transformation which HR is playing. In the last 2 decades, you would see that HR is no longer an administrative managing process or an activity checklist, but it has transformed into what is strategic business partner and adding value to the business at each touch points. The HR technology stack has to manage or match that aspiration. My viewpoint for any HR technology stack would be into 2 parts. First is from the platform perspective. Any platform that you take is a long-term journey, at least a 5 to 7 years of investments. And in that context, if you choose a platform, there are 2 parts. First is in terms of the flexibility of the platform. How flexible and scalable is the platform to meet the business needs, managing multiple business lines, managing your growth aspirations, and so on. The second is on the ecosystem. So as HR head, I need to decide what would be core to your value proposition and what would be non-core or can be outsourced, which was your question of must-haves and good to has. Second bigger dimension is the people and the changing aspirations of the people. And from a platform point of view, I would say it is hyper-personalization of employee experience, which is n equal to 1. So each individual is unique and really the platform has to understand each unique individual to cater to their specific aspiration.
I remember reading somewhere, Steve Jobs once said, you look at customer experience first and then work back towards the technology. Customers in organizations are essentially the employees. And when we look at bringing customer experience to life through technology, there are a lot of promises that we make. Representing an HR tech company, the promise of technology is humongous. The future looks even brighter with rapid development of new technology that is going to solve more and more use cases exponentially within a very short amount of time. But when you look at HR tech, how do you figure, what would be your biggest imperatives when you consider HR tech? I know in the previous question I asked you, what are the must-haves and good to haves? But this question is more focused towards selecting the right technology. So what are your key KPIs for tech?
Amit, you are an expert in this, and I'm sure as HR tech provider, you have a comprehensive list for choosing the right platform and use cases. In my opinion, I would say 2 points. One is looking from the entire breadth and the depth of the product. So the breadth, I mean the covering each and every aspect of the people or employee life cycle. And by depth, I mean is to what extent the platform is able to cater to the policy, process, and specific needs of the organization. There's a very interesting learning which I had while implementing this platform. Earlier, I used to think that you need to have HR process and policies and you need to cater or configure to the HR platform. Whereas the learning for me while implementing this entire PeopleStrong journey was that you first need to understand the platform features, understand what is it that your process and policies have, and might, in many cases, re-engineer the HR processes, policies using design thinking and so on, but really bringing the best of the both worlds. So re-engineering the process to cater to the platform and really getting the best features or optimized usage from the platform features. The second aspect was on the ease of usage and the user experience. As you rightly said, in our case, employee who is our customer for HR is the king. And the greater or the easier the usage of the platform, guaranteed would be the adoption rates. In our case also, we have endeavored to create hooks. As marketeers, you would say, how do we create such hooks for the platform? For example, we have introduced geotagging through the mobile app for recording the attendance, which is again a hook to increase the adoption as well.
Very well put, Shivin. I have a follow-up question. Do you think there is a clear answer in terms of when going for a comprehensive platform versus identifying best-in-class products in each area, in each use case, which we call point solutions, and then stitching them up and making them work together? What do you think is an approach that you have seen work in your career and would advise to others?
Amit, it's a very difficult question to ask.
That's why we came to you.
In my experience, there is no single answer to it, while you need to really understand the context to decide which is the best for you, whether you take a comprehensive suite or you take what I may call string of pearls, which is best-in-class products at each touch point. In my limited experience, I would say that if you are a first-time user or first-time adopting to an HR technology, it would be safer to assume that perhaps less riskier option would be to take a comprehensive suite because you understand most of the features and it is easily configurable. As you decide your journey way ahead and depending on the needs, you may decide to choose certain offerings from the best-in-class service provider. The challenge, of course, is when you take, for example, a select offering from such provider, you also need to understand the right integration challenges as well as ability, and in case it's a solution. So, for example, it's a payroll. So, in case it's a payroll solution, so your payroll provider also needs to understand how to operate on the comprehensive solution or the best-in-class product. So, really the challenge is in terms of integration or deep integration as well as ability of, in case it's a solution provider, to really stitch it to the core HRMS.
And what I also feel is the benefits of possibly a comprehensive platform would be having implemented it across large enterprises. There's a ton of learning that comes in for people like us. Having repeatedly proven in across industries, it makes it easier to adjust to yours or to give you the best practices which potentially you could adopt. So you very rightly said.
So if I may add, so there is an aspect of isomorphism. So for example, if you, let's say, take a banking and insurance industry, the fact that if your comprehensive solution has been implemented in a certain bank, there is a chances that banks would have a similar kind of, let's say, performance management. And in that, you then bring in an expertise that, look, we have already implemented for this context for an enterprise bank with 50,000 head count, and probably these are the advantages. So yes, to that extent, you bring in that expertise of an industry specific depth, and that can be tailored to, let's say, same or similar other banks of similar strengths and similar genre.
If you're saying it with so much confidence, I guess we have been doing a good job. So product showcasing was done. I'm pretty sure there was a tremendous amount of research that your team did to select your stack, bring us in, etc. And promises were made, implementation was done. But when it all comes down to execution of those ideas, execution of implementing the technology and then bringing your costs down, getting returns in terms of total cost of ownership, delivering on the use cases of HR, and plugging it back into business performance. So if you had to do this implementation all over again, what would you do differently?
Amit, I would pay more attention to the softer aspects of this large-scale change management. While the product, the platform, policies, the tech implementation would have taken care of itself. On softer aspects is where I would double click. For example, speaking to employees, getting their feedback more often, perhaps piloting with a smaller use case, understanding their user experience, and then really scaling it up in a big way. The second aspect was having a very well-defined phased-wise deliverables. So in my initial experience, we were trying to club everything together at the start itself. And then we realized that each HR technology platform has a maturity cycle to cover. So you need to set up the core HRMS followed by the various modules. And understanding of a better phase-wise manner deliverables is a much better learning experience for me in
AI. We've been hearing a lot about it, especially in the last 7 years to be precise, more so in the last 2. And this year, everything is going crazy. So is it something which you feel as an HR professional is much needed in HR and HR use cases? B, have you already started implementing these use cases? And C, is it something which you do think is important, but is on the back burner for now?
It's a very thought-provoking question, Amit. I would say that about 5 years back, you could differentiate between must-haves and good-to-haves. In must-have, it would be the core HRMS, recruitment, performance, talent management, and good-to-haves at that point of time would be a chatbot and conversational AI. Double-clicking on today, there have been massive strides. AI has really blown up. Conversational AI is here to stay. And you would see many changes coming in our lives, which AI is actually trying to solve for. We are happy to take the Genie chatbot, which is in a way do-it-yourself query management system. And I'm really excited to learn about agents, which in a way would address our micro issues, solve for the context that we are in. There's also a larger challenge with AI. And of course, as tech experts, you understand in terms of the quality of AI, the solutioning, understanding the context, feeding the right data, biases which AI gets to create, data security and personalization of data. So these are the challenges which I'm sure as tech provider, you are the experts to solve for. But AI definitely is very exciting and we are happy to learn and share our learning journeys with our audience as well.
Thanks for being with us. So what we've seen as common amongst all the best places to work, companies who've got their HR strategies right, is they keep employees at the center of their business. But how does HR really take the seat at the table where business is concerned? There are constant questions around the efficacy of employee initiatives. What does employee engagement actually mean? The spends on HR tech, are they really delivering value? And the biggest question of them all, how does HR contribute to business performance? It's much beyond streamlining the employee experience. It's much beyond a faster onboarding of employees. When we talk about the outcomes of HR initiatives, what do you think is the greatest contribution of HR today and tomorrow that professionals like you can make?
Amit, it's a very deep question. If you look at the nature of industry that we are in, the services industry, here the people are truly your biggest differentiators and a competitive advantage. Whether you look at it from a cost angle or a value angle, the employee cost in proportion to the revenue would be the highest when it comes to the service industries. Now, for an HR leader, the HR technology and the platform is really a critical tool by which he or she can deliver on the excellence. For example, and you can look at from two lenses of efficiency and effectiveness. When it comes to efficiency, you can focus on what are the business KPIs and how is it that from an HR aspect, you are serving it. For example, in talent acquisition, you can look at efficiency KPIs of cost per hire, time to hire, and things and such efficient matrices. But the larger game plan for HR leaders would be more qualitative parameters or effectiveness parameters as well. So one from again talent acquisition is perhaps looking at quality of hire, but the bigger question is that is your HR platform, HR processes delivering on what's your value proposition? For example, if trust and transparency is your value proposition, so are your HR processes and your platform, which in a way is supporting the value proposition of trust and transparency. So does that complete the picture for you? So these are the questions perhaps how HR leader can shape their processes, technology, and in turn the value proposition to really have the seat on the table.
So there's a very interesting conversation we had off camera, Shivin, when we were just getting ready for the podcast, is that you're doing your PhD in change management. So while there might be still time to start addressing you as Dr. Shivin, but could you tell us something about how change management is important for HR professionals today?
Oh, certainly. Change management as a topic in academic research has been there since 1940s. What's interesting to note that large-scale change management, the success rate is less than 1/3, which means that out of 3, 2 change managements fail. So given that there is a high probability that a large-scale change fails, I'm really interested to understand that what is the role of leadership, the mid-management, the implementation team, as well as consultants or tech service providers like you, when they come on board, how is it that they create legitimacy for the change? So my focus is on how do leadership and consultants legitimize a change. And as part of that research, I'm also quite interested to look at when specialists like PeopleStrong, which is an HR technology platform and consulting, when they come on board and they are creating an entire HR technology change management, how is it that they create a success, and how is it that the teams at an implementation stage, both from the organization as well as the HR tech provider, come together to create certain activities, certain sponsorship for the change to happen. And that is what my area of interest is.
Fantastic. So we move towards the last section of our podcast, Shivin. Thank you for being so patient. Not to put you in any pressure now, but our next segment is a rapid fire. I ask you a couple of questions and you answer it in the shortest possible time, in the shortest possible format. So here's the first one for you. Ready or not?
Go ahead.
The HR function is not ready for AI today. Agree or disagree?
Disagree. There are enough use cases by tech experts like you. It is up to HR to really grab these opportunities.
What advice would you give to up-and-coming people leaders who are moving up the ladder or are just taking a responsibility, taking charge for their HR leadership? What would you advise them?
First, understanding of the business, and if possible, do try out a stint in business itself. Second, it's a combination of functional breadth and depth. So if there are a couple of areas which you really believe in, do expertise in those areas. Third, having a tech first or digital first mindset, because that's the way to go.
Because the Gen Zs today are digital native.
Zs and Gen Alphas.
There are too many generations going on.
Yes.
Okay. So for our last question for this rapid fire, and talking about Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, what do you think employee experience means today? Especially in the very eventful last 4 years. We've heard about COVID, work from home, work from office, hybrid, the great resignation, the talent economy. As an experienced HR professional, what do you think employee experience means today?
So 3 things as per me. First is hyper-personalization of your employee experience, really understanding each individual to its own aspiration and what are they wanting. Second is building trust, transparency and simplicity in your ways of working, which reflects your platform as well. And third is do it yourself, giving the users the choice to manage their experiences the way they want.
That's brilliant. And with that, we come to the end of the podcast. Thank you, Shivin. Thank you so much for patiently making time for us. Everybody from PeopleStrong
Thank you so much.
believes that you're not only a very nice person, but also one of the nicest CHROs we know of. Thank you for being on our podcast, and we'll be back soon with yet another guest, a people leader who's making a difference today.
Thank you so much.